History as you've never heard it before. Real stories from real people. This is Fireside Chat Radio.
It is time for Fireside Chat Radio. The fire courtesy of the Jerry Cox Company. It's all cozy and warm here in our hidden location.
Right, the secret, the bat cave.
Is that real or is that gas?
Huh?
Is that real or is that gas?
It's real
gas.
gas.
It's propane.
That's
Yeah.
propane.
Propane.
And propane accessories.
We've got gas. Well, you know who I am. I'm the voice of unreasonability. I'm Banana Jack Murphy, joined by Marshall Biddle. Hey.
Hey, Jack, good morning.
Yes, sir. Hey, Deacon Dawson.
Hello.
That is your proper Hollywood name, isn't it?
Yes, on my resume.
Yeah, Runaway Jury was on the other day. I was flipping through the channels.
Really?
Barb says, "What are you watching?" I said, "It's a bunch of junk with freaking Deacon in it. He's supposed to show up with a briefcase full of money." Yeah, he was in Runaway Jury.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, enough about
I learned
Deacon.
something today.
He's not our guest.
That's
We're
right,
talking
I'm not the
about
guest.
No, he's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Larry brought someone. It's not show and tell, Larry.
Yeah, well, I was sitting here after she had a little piece of the donut that you brought. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
And up came Indira Gandhi, one of the prime ministers, daughter of Winston Churchill, Maggie Thatcher, and sister of Dula, which in Icelandic means sweetie pie.
Oh, okay. Well, we sure went around the world to find out her name's Sweetie Pie.
I know.
Yeah.
She was originally Lottie Dottie, according to Marshall's wife, but got changed.
Okay.
When
There are
Denise
no
Forrest-
Fidos in here.
No, we don't do Fido.
Yeah, they got
They're all
real
prime
names.
ministers. They're all prime ministers.
Well, I hate to say it, Duane, but the dog got introduced before you.
That's right.
Well, it's amazing that dogs get that. And, my dog is more famous than I am. I have a bull terrier. In case you don't know what a bull terrier is, think Spuds McKenzie, Target Dog, Willie the Conqueror from Patton, Chico from Next Friday, or the dog from Babe in the City. That's a bull terrier. Her name is Everybody's Girl Allison. Why would you name a dog that? Well,
Elvis
Rick
Costello?
Springfield. No, Rick Springfield.
Oh,
He had Lethal Ron on his cover of his first big hit album in 1981. And from that point on, at the same time, Spuds McKenzie, I've always wanted a bull terrier. Well, I finally got one, and I named her after two Rick Springfield songs, Everybody's Girl and Allison on two different albums. But she got to meet Rick when she was a year old, and she got to be featured in one of his calendars, one of his fundraising calendars
really?
for Linda Blair's rescue. They raise money for rescues,
Oh,
and so
okay.
she got to be in one of his calendars. So,
like The Exorcist, Linda Blair?
yeah, they dated for a while, her and Rick.
Wow.
So she got to be in. So Allie's more famous than I am.
That's
My
cool.
dog's more famous than me.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Depends on who we're talking to.
Well, we could go back to Fletcher's days. We were all infamous back then. We weren't famous. We were infamous
It
back
was
then.
crazy. My friends would come down. I'd take them down to the boulevard where, when I first got here, if you were with KZQ,
Oh,
huh?
yeah.
That was a license to steal.
Dawson down there kissing girls on the boulevard.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I remember that, Dawson.
Yeah, I came in on the tail end. You guys, even with Fletcher's, was the glory days when you guys were down there.
Oh, yeah.
The original location.
When I got there, we were still doing the ad was In the Shadow of the Astro Needle.
Yep. Right.
But the Astro Needle came down the year just before, I think, before I started at Fletcher's. So we were just located on the corner of 8th Avenue North and Highway 17, And it was the place to be because we were the beginning of the backside of the boulevard. When you turned down 8th, that was where we were
right.
talking about cruising the boulevard. You had this one little loop you did, like go from a Diplomat all the way down to Rockburger and then come on back that way, So it was just, we were on the very corner of it, and that was where everything was at. And everybody would walk from the boulevard to come get their T-shirts. They'd walk back down to the boulevard. We were a destination place. People came to the beach just to come to Mother Fletchers.
I got 1 year in at the original location. I got one summer in there.
Well, it was a good. I mean, we used to do the radio show with KZQ. With whoever the DJ was, we'd call in twice on the hour from 8 until 10, and we'd do our breaks. And we actually, I think you made 2 neon lights. KZQ did, and we had one hanging up in Fletcher's.
Sure, right.
And whenever we were on the air, it would flash. It was really cool. And but But we kept a good relationship with KZQ for a long time. And like I said, everybody wanted the shirts. It was all about the shirts, I mean, we had great music, that was the place to go, all the hot, from 8 to 9 was, free beer, from 8 to 9, and then from 9 to 10 it was free drinks for the ladies or whatever. But from 8 to 9, me and Roy McLeod would play nothing but rock and roll, good classic rock and roll, because people were getting they were getting their buzz on,
Yeah, getting
But
soused.
from 9 o'clock on, it was Dance City till 2 a.m. in the morning.
What you guys did with the dance music was incredible, because a lot of times you just pop a cassette in, you record your mixes
Oh yeah.
to kind of critique yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I stumbled upon a bunch of Roy's
Woo!
mixes in the old WTGR side of KZQ. How they got in there is beyond me.
We need to put some of those on
Oh,
CD.
They might be around somewhere, because
Yeah.
I never throw anything away.
Well, I still have a bunch of mine. They're in boxes, and my wife will tell you if Dwayne's got it, it's in a box somewhere. But I still have some of my. You guys called them air checks, but with air checks, you'd only hear a little bit of the song. You'd hear the opening and the closing, a little bit of the song, opening and closing. But with ours, we would just hit the button, because we had it right there in the DJ. But we would record the whole night,
Yeah.
and we did that to make sure that we liked our mixes and to make sure we weren't playing the same thing every night. Now, granted, we had a different crowd every night. I
Right.
could play the same mixes every night, but we had we had a different crowd every night. So you could do that, but you didn't want to get you didn't want to get a stale, and you didn't want, because the other DJs would come in and steal your mixes.
Sure.
So you didn't want to do it a lot, because it's like, oh, I love that mix. Next thing you know, you're at 2001 and you hear Greg Gause doing the same mix.
Right, yeah.
Or you go to Xanadu's and Joe Bird's over there, doing it, So, but all those DJs knew each other, and we had a great club community. It was really,
Sure.
the 80s was the best time in the world to be in Myrtle Beach when it came to the club business.
There was a rotating sin night, service industry night.
Oh, yeah.
That would pop up at different places. Which
Ours
is
was
kinda neat.
basically, we had teen night on Sunday nights, and then, Monday night was always wet t-shirt night, because people got to the beach on Sunday. So hit them on Monday. So you'd have, free t-shirt night on Monday. Wednesday was wet t-shirt, and Friday was wet t-shirt. Then you had the men's bikini and the ladies' bikini on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we had something going all the time. We'd have
Right.
bands come in, like Boomers and Mirrors and the Max Voltage Brothers, the Max Band. We always had a band a couple of weeks during the summertime, and we weren't known for live music. We were, it was mostly DJs, but we'd have bands because people like to be entertained.
Well, you almost had to have them, because the other clubs
Yeah,
were
yeah,
bringing the bands
The
in.
Holiday
every
Inn
once in a while.
downtown
Yeah.
always had a band,
Oh, yeah.
2001, the Voltage Brothers were really big back then, and the Max Band out of Atlanta. Just a lot of good talent, Sugar Creek, Max Warrior, all those guys were still playing Sidewinder. They were between Castaways.
Max Warrior. Perry Richardson. Was
Yeah,
in
Perry
that group.
from Conway, South
those
Carolina.
days.
Perry Richardson, who is now playing with Stryper.
Is that
Yeah.
not bizarre?
Well, it's funny. He left. He was Max Warrior, White Heat, Firehouse, and then he went and played with Nantucket for a while when Nantucket
Sure.
split up. So Alan Thornton, Perry Richardson, Larry Uzel, and Jason became the new version of Nantucket. And then Perry went country, and he played Craig Morgan.
That
That's
was-
right.
And
That's
then he
right.
left Craig Morgan and went to Trace Atkins. And then he came back to Craig Morgan. And then he got a phone call. And Stryper, the Christian heavy metal band that has never stopped recording or never stopped touring since their creation in the 80s, they asked him if he'd like to play bass. And he pulled up pictures where they opened up for Stryper. When Max Warrior was first starting, they actually got to open up for Stryper. And it was a big, big full circle, but now he's with Stryper. I'm actually in their liner notes on their new album because Perry's a really good friend of mine, and he's worked really hard, and he's had a great career, and they're doing really good.
Crazy stuff. And on a little side note, his mother was a clerk of court.
Yes,
in
she
North Carolina
was.
for a while.
She was
Everybody knew Billy
yeah.
Richardson.
Oh, my God,
Yeah, buddy.
absolutely.
Everybody knew. I had a issue with the clerk of court, and I was living in Rock Hill, and they said that I hadn't paid my child support, that I was going to have to go to Conway and get this straightened out, but they wanted to take me in the back of a car. So I get into
Chauffeur service.
to a
I
York.
didn't know we were going
I
to
get
get
into
this
a-
story. But
I get into
go
a
on.
York County cruiser, and they take me to Darlington Motor Speedway, and I said, why are we stopping at Speedway? This is the halfway point from Rock Hill to the beach. So here comes that Oregon County, and he takes me down, and I see Billy on the way in, and Billy says, you're paid up. And so I get down there, and the judge says, well, Miss Richardson says that you were paid up. I'm sorry you came all the way for this, but you have a nice trip. They don't take you back.
Yeah. That's a
Right,
one-way
yeah.
service.
So I'm supposed
Did you
to
go Greyhound?
I'm supposed to DJ that night back up in Rock Hill. So
Oh, no.
I call one of my boys. I need you to come get me. So zoom, and I got back in time for the show.
Wow.
But the check was in the mail. It actually was. It was just late, but they came and got me.
wow.
And they don't bring you back.
Welcome to Oregon County.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You're on your own.
you know,
I've never heard that
So I
story
got
before.
I got to ride in a cop car for the first time.
Wow.
You know, other than doing Elvis, because when I used to do Elvis in Mount Airy, North Carolina, for the CB Jamborees, that's how long I've been doing Elvis. I was doing Elvis when Elvis was still alive. That's how long I've been doing Elvis.
Nice.
So I've got pictures. My dad he used to be a deputy sheriff of Gaston County, so he still had his shirts, and he'd drive up and they'd come open my door, and I'd get out and run up on the stage and do my show. But yeah, it was a lot of fun back in the days.
Unbelievable.
A lot of fun.
Well, and then cell phones came in, and the world's gone to hell.
Yeah, and probably it's a good thing that we didn't have.
Yeah, because
Amen.
we had some fun nights at Fletcher's. I mean, when you're doing ladies bikini contest, men bikini contest, wet t-shirt contest, and there is photo proof, because you could bring cameras in, and
Sure.
we were a classy joint. There was no nudity. You know, there were other clubs in town for that. We you know, if there was going to be any nudity, the girls got kicked immediately out.
Right.
You know, we had rules, but still there were a lot of cameras. But yeah, today, in today's society, it would not fly.
And, and the jig would have been up for a lot of the contestants, because I came in here naive as all get up, and I see my first contest, and we'll just call this girl Michelle. For lack of another name.
I remember her.
You remember her? Mm-hmm. She happened to be a school teacher the first night at
Kindergarten.
Yeah, kindergarten teacher from Charlotte.
Right.
And 2 nights later,
She's at another club.
under a different name,
I'm a daycare
with a
worker
new
in Columbia.
profession, I went, I am going to love this town.
Right.
And
this job.
You can be whoever you want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
in Myrtle
Well,
Beach.
she was doing
You
the
can
circuit.
do whatever you want.
She was on the circuit.
Yeah.
yeah, it was funny because a lot of these, we still see a lot of these ladies.
Sure.
You know, we still know them, and
Right.
and we talk about the good
They're
old
in
days.
church now.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Right.
They are.
Yeah, right.
They really are.
It's just amazing, you know, and I actually I ran into one when I was running my theater in Columbia, down in Lexington, South Carolina. I ran into a former contestant, and she was actually a school teacher now.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
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 She wasn't then, but she is now.
That's foreshadowing. Yeah. Some great stories out there. Same with Hooter Girls. It's very interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I've encountered a bunch of.
When you know, and Deacon, you know, what year did you get to the beach?
I came in '89.
Okay.
Now Deacon was at KZQ till '88.
88.
Yeah. And
Well-
then I kind of replaced him, except for that few months that A. Daniel Hoffman was the fill-in
Oh, yeah.
with
When
his accordion.
When I first got to the beach,
Candy Castle.
I found out that they had a little station over in Ocala, so I didn't have a car, so I walked all the way over there. And the first DJ I got to meet was Buffalo Chris Williams.
Oh, yeah.
But I
Who,
got
by the way, if you've never heard that name, he hosts the Carolina Business Report on PBS for both South Carolina and
he
North
used to
Carolina
come to my
ATV.
theater in Charlotte. He would take a lunch break and come see a movie
And a former airman.
at the Park Dares.
Right,
He was
yeah.
stationed at the
He was
airbase,
yeah.
just like you.
So I got to meet him. I got to meet Marv Clark, Mixon Dixon, Bob Chase, Scarborough. You know, all Dixon, John Dixon. I mean, there were so many
Mixon? Yeah.
There were so many great DJs over there. But
I wasn't there that day.
and Deacon was there. He was the voice. You know, hey, time to turn before you burn. You know. But Deacon did the big kissing contest or kiss the Deacon down on the boulevard. They had their own little satellite radio station right down on the boulevard.
Yeah.
Summer James, and then Bob Chase, there was another female. Was it Sarah?
Sarah, yeah.
Yeah.
I started it inside the pavilion in the arcade for 3 years. We did it. Then they built that booth right
Which
on
is an
the
airbrush
boulevard.
booth now. So
Right, exactly.
Still being used.
Yeah. And
But-
I think Sarah took it first. Sarah's out there first after I had left. I decided not to do it that summer, and because I was doing mornings. Because
Right.
they would move me from mornings to nights, so I'd be down there doing it for the summer for 3 months. I'd be working nights. I didn't like that, but I mean, it was fun being down there. I mean, but I had a good time.
Myrtle Beach, like I said, in the 80s, if you liked rock and roll, hair metal, good rock and roll, you had Castaways.
Yeah.
If you liked dance, you had Fletchers, Fletchers was more of a high energy dance, fun stuff. We would play the theme from Animal House Shout and, Moni Moni, stuff like that. Then you go to Xanadu's, which is a little more techno wasn't even around, but it was more electronic dance, and they had the crazy light shows and the smoke and stuff like that. And then you had 2001, which they had the beach side, and then they had the main dance room, and so it was more. Greg Gauls was playing the high energy. He did the lip sync contest, and he was the first one to do a lot of those. You had Cowboys up on the north end. Rayford and Tyson Leonard had Cowboys up on the north end. Took over Old Tramps. They had Cowboys, and that's where you had T.G. Shepard, Tanya Tucker, all the great acts. Studebakers, if you liked oldies, 50s, 60s, you had Studebakers. If you wanted beach, you went up to Fat Harold's or you went up to the Galleon, Ducks, all up in there. So Myrtle Beach had and the Beach Wagon, if you wanted country.
Sure.
You had the Beach Wagon, Larry Presley and Haven and the Grain, Derek and Murray. All those guys. You had the Silver Nickel Band with those guys playing down there. So you had a little bit of everything in the 80s.
Well, and you had the Bowery.
And of course, the Bowery that's the home church. Well, the home church of rock and roll is
that-
Catholic, but the Bowery was an institution.
Oh, yeah.
By then,
Well, you had Mama Gilbert's.
Well,
Rodberger was a great place for music.
See, now you had your main clubs, but after those shut down, you also had Dixie Uptown. Dixie Electric. That was also open there. But when they all shut down, where did everybody
You
go?
went out on the hill.
No, where did
I've
everybody
been.
go? You had to go to either Dixie Uptown,
Right.
Rock Burgers, Jamaica Joe's or Panama Jack's, or Mama Gilbert's,
Right.
and the road. So, most of the Castaways people went to Mama Gilbert's because they continued to rock and roll. Rock Burger, we were based off of MTV, and then he started putting in some bands.
Sure.
But they were mostly MTV. Dixie Electric, Uptown was dance music, and then Panama Jack and Jamaica Joe's was for that higher end crowd up on the north end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's basically everybody migrated. They'd hit all the clubs. They'd all end up, somewhere up there. So club life in the 80s was great.
Well, then used to they would close everything on Saturdays at 12 midnight.
That's right, 12 midnight.
You could, and most of the people like myself back in those days who worked in the club business prior to radio, we would go out to the hill to the Soul Shack.
To the Soul Shack.
Yeah, man.
Not the Jet Age Cafe?
Well, no. Oh, no, man. No, that's where you bought your dope. But
The Jet Age Cafe.
Oh, yeah. Right there on 10th.
I used to go by all the time. Wonder what is in that building. I never ever stopped.
I know Deacon did.
I've been in
Just
there.
Curiosity always
Never
killed the
ever
cat.
once stopped there.
I was in there, and I had
It's a community center now, isn't it?
I
right there.
don't know what it is now, but I remember the guy that ran it. I can't think of his name, but he and I were good buds. And I pulled in there one time. I went in. I was sitting at the end of the bar. Of course, all black, and I'm the only white dude in there. And so some black guy visiting town came up and said, "What you doing in here, man?" Says, started giving me some lip. And so the bartender who happened to own the place said, "Man, you don't mess with this white boy." So he's, you don't mess with this guy. And I'm thinking, yeah, please don't mess with me. Yeah,
But now-
please.
but see,
not
now
today.
just
I'm
around-
friends forever. Yeah.
But just around the corner, if you wanted a good place to eat, Prince's,
oh,
baby.
yeah.
my
Oh, yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Prince's,
Miss
baby.
Francis.
At
Well,
Prince's
those
place.
pork
as Miss
chops.
Francis's, and then Prince took it over.
Oh, my
right.
God.
And
Prince's.
everybody ate there.
Yeah.
Every lawyer, every politician, every banker. I
Right.
mean, you'd see business suits in there and some of the best cooking
Oh, it was great.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
South right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Best cornbread. I'm telling you. a
Yes,
hunk of
it- oh,
cornbread that
yes, it
was 5
was.
by 5.
And if you didn't get there early, the pork chops was gone, and college
Absolutely.
was gone, and so was that cornbread.
Yep, you got
Yeah,
that right.
You got that, man. I'm
And
telling
then come
you.
back to B&C at that time. The pavilion was at its high.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, on Sunday nights we did teen night, and once we closed up, we headed to the boulevard.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, Myrtle Beach is you scratch my back, I scratch your back. I would trade out, Fletcher's T-shirts for passes to go to the pavilion. We'd go down, we'd ride all the rides and stuff like that. And actually being at Fletcher's, we got to see the park grow.
Yeah.
We used to kick people out and we would kick them over the little brick wall and say, don't come back over here. Well, that brick wall ended up going away because next thing you know, there's a big roller coaster
where
and,
we were.
where we were. But we got to actually see the park grow. And then, being in the Charlotte area too, because, that's where my first wife was from. I got to see Carowinds from its inauguration growing up. Carowinds. So it was like a baby Carowinds right here, watching it, and the park kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And but it still kept that original, the merry-go-round, the calliope, all the original pavilion stuff. Like you were talking about being in the arcades. The arcades were still there. Ripley's was still on the corner. I missed the Wax Museum. I missed Guinness's Book of World Records. They had the big globe. When I first came down to Myrtle Beach and you drove down the boulevard, everything was larger than life. You had the big globe over there for Guinness. You had the Dracula's Castle and Ripley's, and it was so much. It was larger than life. And then you get that as a 14-year-old kid riding down the boulevard.
Oh, wow.
It just gets in your head, and that's why I always wanted to come back to Myrtle Beach because it just looked like such a fun place to live.
There was a fun place.
Great place to go.
And there was some water out there that just kind of
Somewhere,
goes for days.
Just got forever.
Yeah.
And a
Great
lot of
place.
pretty girls.
Beautiful girls.
every weekend.
A lot of pretty girls.
Yeah.
That was a drawing point.
If you had a line that worked.
I think they made
You
a
just
movie
stuck
about
with
it down at the beach called Shag.
Yeah, they
Oh,
did.
yeah.
That was,
Yeah, they
but
did.
but
that was
you
pretty
know,
much 88, 89.
The
I
funny
think.
thing is, they never really talked to anybody. Like I used to stand on that boulevard. I'd walk up to some girl and say, "Look, if you pay my way in up here at the dance hall, I'll dance with you." And once I got in there, I get rid of her. She'd usually not be very pretty, and I go find me a pretty one after she paid my way in.
That's
But we
terrible.
did.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't
it was
tell that
terrible.
story
Oh,
deep.
my.
Please, man.
But we did. Well, I
Jeez.
was a dirt. I'm telling you. But anyway, the thing was, we had a good time back in those days. We'd have, everybody knew we had like, hey baby, we want to take a stride on the tide. There's a full ocean out tonight. I mean, we had all kinds of cool one-liners and stuff. Nobody ever does that down here. They didn't even put it in the movie about that kind of stuff. But that's
Well,
where
everybody knows the first question, where you from and how long are you in town?
Exactly. Right.
Those are the first two questions. Where
First
are you
two
from?
things,
How long?
yeah.
And that third question, how many friends do you have with you?
That's
Because
right.
Oh,
if there were 5 girls
Right.
and there was only 4 of you, you better find another guy. You better,
Exactly.
you got to split them up. But they were fun times, and there's some very nice people from West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Ohio. They would all, they'd all come down and they'd come see you every year. Tennessee, Myrtle Beach was a melting pot, and people would come and they would have so much fun. Next thing you know, I'm moving to the beach next week.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm
And then
gonna
they
tell
get
you.
down here and it's not as fun anymore because you got to work for a
you gotta
living.
Well, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
But
the
you could
whole
fall in love 100 times in Myrtle Beach.
Well,
I
he
mean,
did.
all summer. Yeah.
Based
In a
on
week.
some of the stories I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's where
I
met
remember
my
all
first
my ex-wives' names. Plaintiff.
I'm telling
Well,
you.
before we let you get out of here, just a hop, skip, and a jump from Fletcher's was the Pavilion, and that was a place for talent through the years. I mean, going way before you ever got here.
Oh yeah, you can. And Deacon will attest. One of his friends owns all the placards, the old advertisements.
Yeah.
So many people played there. Even when I got there, it was mostly DJ Pat and Pat Gary and Sean A. They were the
Right.
DJs that played there. But Sugar Creek, Max Warrior, and Sugar Creek went on to Star Search fame and stuff like that.
Sugar
Max
Creek was
Warrior,
huge.
Sidewinder, all the great bands that would play there. And before that, Ducey Blake owned the Electric Circus, and he had everybody play the Electric Circus. I mean, the up at Atlantic Beach, you got Bo Diddley and all those guys played there, and the story of Carver Street.
Right, sure.
They would come in town, and that's where they would stay. All these artists, 'cause we were part of what they called the Chitlin Circuit back then.
Sure.
And they would come through town, and so there were shows. Myrtle Beach has always been a fun place to be from when it got started back in the day. Where Springs would come down and give their people 2 weeks of vacation and then take them back. That's what Spring Maid came to be, and they had to be entertained. And they had the pad. They had the pavilion. So they had all these places where they could go and dance.
Beach
like,
club.
You know, the beach club. And it, you know, it's still that way. You cannot go anywhere in Myrtle Beach that there's not a 2-piece, 3-piece, or 4-piece band playing almost nightly.
Mm-hmm.
Especially during the summertime, but even during the wintertime, you know, Paul Grimshaw's, I just looked at his new schedule. He's playing somewhere almost every night. Myrtle Beach is the home for entertainment, and the pavilion was a great starting point because, I mean, the Sun Fun Festival was always down at the pavilion. You had the Human Checkers. You had famous guests. They always had great marshals, you know, the parades. I mean, you know, Vanna White, of course, because she is from North Myrtle Beach. Just so many famous people came. Sharon Tate. She did a film.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, she did a film
Well,
here.
the Rolling
in Myrtle
Stones
Beach.
actually did a
78.
set.
The Rolling Stones at the
they
convention
came
center.
in, but they also went down to the pavilion and played at the Magic Attic one night.
It's just, I mean,
Jumped
Myrtle
up
Beach
on
has always
stage.
been known, and of course, Alabama, you know, probably the famous Sons from the beach, even though they're from Fort Payne, Alabama, but they got their start here, and that's what
Right.
they're famous for.
I saw B.B. King. Bo Diddley, I think, played Rockburger. I'm pretty certain he did, which was a bizarre.
With Delvin McClain, a lot of people played,
Yeah.
a lot of greats
I saw
played.
B.B. King. In fact, I emceed the B.B. King and the Temptation show at the Palladium. I remember my first summer, Tone Loc, Samantha Fox were playing down at the Magic Attic. It's just a magical time, and
Oh yeah.
The 80s, if you could bottle from 80 to 90 at the beach, you could have sold it a million times over.
Well, I'm
and
gonna
made-
tell you what. Even the '70s were really
Well, that's-
no,
sparking.
we don't
That's
remember
prior to
that.
you
Well,
guys,
like I said, Ducey Blake had the Electric
Yeah.
Circus, and he had.
But you know, Johnny
everybody came
Hardy
through.
had the club, had the arcade and club that they based the design of that building. You know, the one that where the building Ducey had.
Right.
Ducey got permission from Johnny Hardy and them to build the same building on down the street where the Castaways was,
Right.
where the Hardy had. Well, prior to that, you had the what they used to call the Idle Hour nightclub, which is the first thing up over.
The
Then
Idle Hour Arcade.
in came the Tail of the Fox. Then came Dr. Generosity's in the same building. And I worked at those places. See, back when Ducey had those things going down there, and I got my neighbor used to run the upstairs.
Chris Walker? No.
No, daggone, I can't think. Well, anyway, I'm old. But anyway, but there's a lot of great clubs back in those days. You know that really sparked you know the entertainment.
Well,
Rathskeller
Yeah,
years
Myrtle
ago.
Beach was just
In the basement.
world famous for entertainment.
That's what they
Oh, and that is funny. We have a studio on 24th that the band we all practice in. There's only 2 basements in Myrtle Beach, and we have one of them that we have the studio in. And I God rest his soul, John Rhodes told us stories about going down there, and it was called the Lower Deck.
okay.
It's on, you know, it's my buddy's hotel, and there's a basement, and it was called the Lower Deck. And he said, yeah, whenever the clubs, you know, the bars would close, we'd all meet down here, and it's just a little hole in the wall. We use it for a studio. But he said Jim Peterick. I don't know if you know
Jim
that name.
Peterick, Ides of
Jim
March.
Peterick. He
Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Survivor. He wrote Eye of the Tiger. He did Vehicle, Ides of March Vehicle. He wrote that, and he did 38 Special. Well, he played down there, and they said there was a little jukebox in the corner, but they would put these little guys in there, and they would sit there and play and stuff like that. And so there were some little hidden spots on the beach.
Well, and then Dino Thompson, you know, his daddy had, right?
Oh, yeah.
They had that little downstairs right
At
there
the
on
Cozy
very corner.
Cafe?
Yeah,
Cozy
remember down
Corner?
inside there. But they had a place right down in that too. It was a basement.
Well,
It was a small club at one time.
you mentioned his name,
Yeah.
if you're ever in the local bookstores here,
Oh man,
Boogie and Beats, Dino Thompson, and a Greek boy grows up at the
Yeah.
beach or something.
Yeah.
He's got 2
Greg
great
grows
books.
up southern. I
Yeah,
think.
he's got 2 great books, but his Boogie and Beats book tells a lot about the entertainment business here at the beach.
yeah, we're certainly going to try and get him on this program.
Yeah, we've got I think there were like 5 or 6 movies filmed at the beach. There's an actual another one of those local books about the movies. The Chaser movie was Shag was here. Chaser. I can't remember the name of the Sharon Tate movie, but there's about 5 or 6
Right.
movies that have actually been filmed here, and there's a little book on those. So Myrtle Beach has always been, you know, a tourist attraction, but it's also a little entertainment mecca.
Sure.
And it's not there anymore, but the pavilion had a lot to do with it.
Duane Farmer, it has been a pleasure hanging out with you. I'm sure our paths will cross again. Since that last check I wrote you didn't bounce, I bet you want another one.
I'm waiting for the bug off.
Oh, yeah. We'll see if we can't
I
make
can't
that
see if I
happen.
can get if you get us the big stage, we'll do the porch, but if you get us the big stage, I'll get all the boys back together.
Oh, now tell everybody where you
challenge.
are now so they can
Well-
come say hello to you.
Come see me. I am at the Grand 14 Cinemas at Market Common. Yes, Stone Theaters. I've been there since we've opened up this April 5th. We'll start our 15th year. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That is
15
amazing.
years that we've had the theater there at the Market Common, and the COVID was hard on us, but us in Hollywood, we're trying our best to keep it going. So please come on out and see us. Just remember, discount Tuesdays, everybody's $5 plus tax until 6 o'clock. After that, everybody's $6 till we close.
I love it.
Great.
Thank you. You've done that a time or two, I can
Best
tell.
popcorn on the beach.
There you go.
And that concludes this edition of Fireside Chat Radio, presented by the Jerry Cox Company.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, this is Hank. I'm joined today by legendary bluesman Spotty Rain to talk about the Jerry Cox Company. Spotty, how do you feel when you're ready to have a smoking hot barbecue, but you're out of gas? Now, how do you feel when you've got a tank full of gas from the Jerry Cox Company? Whoa, I almost got the happy feet, I tell you what. Gas up your next barbecue with the Jerry Cox Company, 3104 Highway 701 North in Conway, your headquarters for propane and propane accessories. Yep.
History as you've never heard it before. Real stories from real people. This is Fireside Chat Radio.